Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling Reviewing Series for the 19th of December, 1981. Continue to be impressed with the Mid-Atlantic stuff, although there are confusion points with them not always announcing people the way they should. Jake Roberts and Blackjack Mulligan Jr., aka Barry Windham, versus Fulton and Chris Markov is your opening match. Roberts seems to have multiple tag team partners here in the territory. Don't know if you're trying to get him ready for a major tag team title shot or what that's about. Sergeant Slaughter comes out, basically says he's a 3-month or so U.S. champion, and he is ready to put the Cobra Clutch $1,000 challenge up against anybody, but he only wants to put it up against what he ends up calling worthy challengers that are actually enhancement talents. And of course, Markov and Fulton are a interesting heel team. Barry Windham, a.k.a. Blackjack Mulligan Jr., is really thin here. Fulton kind of dominates him with more wrestling ability than average. Markov manages a body slam and doesn't exactly want to get out of hand here. Roberts comes in and controls more of the match. Roberts is much more body part motivated, where we have Mulligan Jr., who is still trying to find his way. Markov much more brawling, but finally Irish whip. It's still weird to see the such a thin version of Barry Windham, and also black hair is also interesting. They jockey around for position on a hip toss that doesn't exactly go according to plan. And then we see, finally, Blackjack Mulligan Jr. hit a body slam on his opponent, and Roberts comes in and helps his team get the victory. But it's clear that there is a plan for the future for Mulligan Jr., a.k.a. Barry Windham. He hits a bulldog and manages to actually get the victory for his team, even though Roberts comes in to kind of cut things off. For the record, it is Blackjack Mulligan Jr. that gets the fall. So we move to another in the series of matches here. A much more wrestling heavy show than the other shows at the time. This is the Ninja with Gene Anderson and his new manager. Mike Davis is his opponent here. Ninja goes right for the arm, nerve holds, and other basic things. Davis, a relative newcomer. Also, we see the Ninja with face painted, and also use of the green mist, although it doesn't use it as a offensive weapon yet, just kind of spitting it into the air. Modified arm bars, key locks, and other basic holds. Ninja not doing a whole ton of runarounds here as far as big moves, but the Ninja does manage to hit a top or second rope on the inside headbutt, getting a victory for himself in the process. Then we go to another in the series of matches, which happens to be Terry Taylor versus Mike Miller. Terry Taylor, Rookie of the Year for 1980. Taylor, of course, becoming the Red Rooster, but touted pretty heavily here as a challenger for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Taylor gets a key lock on Miller. Miller has more size on Taylor and obviously more experience. Miller backs him into the ropes, and Taylor tries to hold on to the key lock. There's obvious plans for Taylor at the time, although he does much more over the next several years in the UWF than he does in Mid-Atlantic. I think he's here just to get some experience, not necessarily here to be a pushed guy, but they treat him with good respect. Also, Taylor ends up winning with the figure 4, which is weird because Ric Flair, who is your NWA champion at the time, still there. Sergeant Slaughter is complaining about having to face off against Blackjack Mulligan Jr. and other challengers for the U.S. title. Piper behind him as well. Also kind of talking about the upcoming challenges and changes in the almost new year, and that's kind of the promo there. Jimmy Valiant up next in a enhancement match. Valiant is eventually going to go after various other people and may even reinitiate his feud with Ivan Koloff. But Valiant here, Tony Russo, super basic match, punch kick. Valiant at the time, kind of getting ready for the Boogie Woogie Man, not really doing it quite yet, but you can see him shucking and driving and baby facing his way around at the time. Front face locks, punches, kicks, elbow drops, and the like. Not going to see a whole bunch of stuff. Paul Jones and Rick Steamboat. Steamboat still wants more matches with Piper, wants the elimination of Piper and Gene Anderson. And then we move to another in the series of matches. This happens to be Ricky Steamboat versus Mike Frater. We've seen this before, although I think Frater had a different first name at the time, so I don't know if they're brothers or whether they've kind of changed names a bit just for the sake of consistency or some other reason. But anyway, arm bars by Steamboat, super short match. Steamboat eventually does get a cross body and a victory, and the run in from the heels leads that to be John Studd still promises in promos that he's going to take care of both Blackjack Mulligan Sr. and Jr. Piper says that he is going to control whatever he needs to control to hold on to the Mid-Atlantic Championship. English champion or UK champion Billy Robinson up next here. Billy Robinson facing off against Don Kernoodle. Kernoodle, a mainstay in the area. Robinson, often a guy in the AWA territory. Much more traditional wrestling stylings. Obviously, Robinson, a hooker shooter. Before that was, I wouldn't say really popular because there's guys like Danny Hodge, Luthez, but you didn't necessarily see a more intentional mat-based style to the level that this match is. If you enjoy mat-based stuff, kind of a more MMA sort of feel, submission sort of feel, this is worth watching. Head scissors and standing switch for things like the abdominal stretch, full Nelson, other basic moves of that general nature, worth checking out from that perspective. Kernoodle hangs on, but a modified, almost dumping gut-wrench suplex. One thing about Robinson is he always looks to be in control. There's even a roll through to a Boston Crab that's pretty good. And Robinson is really quite enamored of using the ring to his advantage. Both guys go down with a double down midpoint in the match. Obviously, the idea here is to get both guys over pretty strong. Kernoodle looks better than he has in previous matches on Mid-Atlantic during this run anyway. And Robinson still comes out looking very strong as well. The back suplex modified by into a backbreaker by Robinson gets him a victory, and he is successful. Again, Slaughter basically says he does not want to challenge the people that he's been ordered to challenge for the Cobra Clutch challenge, instead offering to do the same for Tony Anthony. Basically says he can choose who he wants to be around. Wahoo McDaniel says he's coming back for the Cadillac and other challenges going forward. Jake Roberts says there isn't enough room for him and only Anderson and Anderson's thugs going forward in the next little while. There is an acknowledgement of Leroy Brown here as well, and then we go to the next in the series of matches, which happens to be, I guess you'd say, the last match of the day. Carl Fergie and Ox Baker, who are your new tag team champions. Odd, because Carl Fergie was just doing a enhancement match here, and Ox Baker, who wasn't even in the territory, at least on television primarily over the last little while. Larson and Youngblood are their challengers for the day. Folks that haven't seen Ox Baker, very punch kick style for his size, known more for his promos than his in-ring acumen. Needless to say, Jay Youngblood comes in and uncorks some pretty heavy chops and other offensive maneuvers on his adversaries here. Really basic maneuvers and tag off by the champions. Wyndham and Roberts post-match, after the champions are in control and get their victory, continue the challenge. Jay Youngblood continues to want to get at Sergeant Slaughter, and Blackjack Mulligan Jr., a.k.a. Barry Windham, and Jake Roberts want the tag team champions and to run Ole Anderson out of town. As we close the program, we will be back with more right after this.